beings from the heavens, deities from the cosmos. You have been misled regarding the Anunnaki all this time. While countless individuals envision spacecraft and entities from other planets, the genuine account is concealed within 12,000-year-old inscribed clay tablets, which hardly anyone has taken the effort to truly decipher. And what do these ancient records unveil? A civilization so advanced it would render our contemporary technology akin to child's play. However, here is a revelation that will astound you. It is possible they never departed Earth at all. Within the next few moments, you will uncover the authentic origins of the Anunnaki, directly sourced from the original Sumerian narratives, corroborated by archaeological findings that have been overlooked, and translations that were deliberately distorted. You will learn a truth far more captivating than any extraterrestrial hypothesis. But before I unveil what transpired approximately 450,000 years ago, it is essential that you discard everything you have previously heard about them, for the authentic chronicle of the Anunnaki commences precisely where no one would ever anticipate. It began in darkness, not the darkness of twilight, as night had not yet been conceived, but the absolute nothingness that preceded the formation of existence itself. In this void, only Namu resided, the primeval ocean, the foundational principle. Neither masculine nor feminine, Namu was the source from which all things would eventually emanate. Her waters extended without limit, without any shoreline, and without any discernible bottom. This was because nothing yet existed to contain or define them. Within these boundless depths, a rudimentary consciousness began to stir. This was not thought as mortal beings would comprehend it, but rather the initial faint awareness that something beyond mere emptiness might be possible. Namu's waters began to pulse with a rhythm that possessed no discernible origin, yet contained the potential for all future heartbeats. She was in the process of becoming, though what she might ultimately become remained unwritten. In the profound silence preceding time, the primordial waters trembled. From their profound abyss rose An, the sovereign of the celestial expanse, his form materializing as dawn, breaking over waters that had never encountered light. He stood upon nothingness, yet remained firm, his eyes mirroring the azure of skies yet to be formed, his breath carrying winds that had no destination to traverse. As he materialized, the first distinction came into being, segregating what was above from what lay below. But even as An established his presence, the waters stirred once more. Kai emerged to meet him, the mistress of the terrestrial realm, solid where he was ethereal, dark where he blazed with celestial luminescence. Her very being was the promise of all land masses, her essence the potential for every particle of soil that would sustain burgeoning life. When they gazed upon each other across the immensity of the void, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath in anticipation. An reached towards Kai, and she ascended to meet his touch. Their embrace forged the initial union, the first synthesis that transcended the simple oneness of Namu's undifferentiated waters. Where his celestial fire met her earthly darkness, incandescent sparks erupted, destined to become stars. Where his breath brushed against her form, the first atmosphere took shape, not yet the air that living organisms would inhale, but the very potential for atmosphere, the space between the heavens and the earth, where life might one day flourish. From their union emerged Enlil, the master of wind and tempest, born from the space that his parents' embrace had so elegantly sculpted. He appeared not as an infant, but as a potent force, the wind that would fill the expanse between sky and earth, the very breath that would animate all living creatures. Yet, even as consciousness dawned within him, he comprehended that their union had effectively confined him between them. With a strength inherited equally from both his progenitors, the young Enlil placed his hands against An's chest and his feet against Kai's bosom. He pushed with a resolve that would come to define all his future actions. The resonant sound that accompanied the separation of heaven from earth was the first music ever produced, not melody as mortals would later devise, but the cosmic harmony of fundamental forces establishing their rightful relationships, and ascended higher, becoming the distant sky that would gracefully orbit with stars and seasons. Kai settled deeper, solidifying into the stable earth that would support majestic mountains and vast oceans. Between them stretched Enlil's dominion, the atmosphere where meteorological phenomena would originate, where winged creatures would soar, and where the very breath of life would sustain all of creation. Through sheer force, he had claimed his inheritance, establishing the precedent that dominion belonged to those possessing the fortitude to seize it. The cosmic genesis continued as further celestial beings emerged from the ongoing interplay of these three primordial forces. Enki arose from the sweet subterranean waters beneath Kai's surface. He was the Lord of Wisdom and the hidden springs that would nourish life. His realm remained concealed from direct sight, yet it was absolutely essential for existence, comprising the deep wells of knowledge and the flowing conduits that interconnected all places. Ninhursag emerged as the sovereign of the mountain ranges and the very fertility that would sculpt Kai's surface into landscapes conducive to life. Her strength was understated yet immense, embodying the resilience of stone, the nurturing capacity of soil, and the patient growth that transforms barren rock into verdant gardens. Wherever her influence touched the earth, the promise of abundance took root. The divine family continued its expansion. Inanna blazed into existence as the mistress of both love and conflict. Her dual nature mirrored the paradox that creation and destruction both stem from the same passionate source. Her beauty was formidable, her engagement in warfare generative, and her affections could be both a blessing and a curse to all who experienced them. Utu emerged as the sovereign of the sun. His light introduced the very possibility of time, as it would be measured by the alternating progression of day and night. His sense of justice was as unwavering as his daily celestial journey, illuminating truth while casting shadows that exposed deception. Through his radiant presence, the concept of reliability entered the cosmos. Nana took form as the ruler of the moon, his cyclical nature heralding the promise of months and seasons, of renewal succeeding decline, of light's return after periods of darkness. His wisdom resided in the patience of extended cycles, the understanding that all transformations occur in their appointed time. Through his waxing and waning, the rhythm of longer temporal periods entered existence. As these powerful entities solidified their forms and claimed their respective domains, they became acutely aware of a fundamental need that surpassed their individual capacities. The cosmos they had brought into being through emergence and contention was vast and intricate, far too complex for any single will to effectively govern. The management of such elaborate systems would necessitate collaboration, consultation, and the combined wisdom of numerous intellects working in concert. From this realization, the Anunnaki were conceived. They were not born in the same manner as the great powers, but rather were summoned into existence through the conscious decree of the celestial family. Numbering 50 in total, they were designated as the Great Ones who would determine the destiny of all lesser beings. An additional 300 were fashioned as the Ashki, the working intelligences whose sole purpose would be to execute the directives of their superiors. The Grand Council that convened when all these celestial beings assembled was unlike anything the cosmos had previously witnessed, and assumed his position as the supreme ruler, the sovereign of the heavens, whose authority stemmed from his elevated status and transcendent nature. Enlil positioned himself as the active executive, the master of earth and sky, whose power derived from his direct command over the forces shaping everyday existence. Enki arranged himself as the chief counselor, the one whose profound wisdom could resolve challenges that brute force was incapable of overcoming. His deep understanding of hidden connections and esoteric knowledge rendered him invaluable when the assembly confronted complex deliberations. Surrounding these three central figures, the other great powers assumed their places according to their respective domains and interrelationships, thereby establishing a hierarchy that would govern celestial society. Yet, even as this magnificent assembly took its definitive form, fundamental questions remained persistently unanswered. What precisely would they govern? They had meticulously divided the cosmos amongst themselves, asserted dominion over various territories, and established clear hierarchies. But apart from their own collective glory, what else was there to oversee? Rulers inherently require subjects. Sovereigns need individuals to command, and creators require something tangible to fashion that would validate their existence. The cosmos existed in a state of ordered beauty, populated by the forces they controlled and the powers they had instituted, but it remained devoid of conscious life. It lacked beings capable of appreciating the profound achievements that had been accomplished. Flora and fauna would materialize later. Cities and advanced civilizations would follow in time. But first, there arose the question that would fundamentally shape all subsequent relationships between the celestial and terrestrial realms. What form of beings should populate the realm they had so meticulously forged? What creatures could be created to serve their will while simultaneously honoring their supreme authority? How could they populate their cosmos without inadvertently introducing challenges to their own supremacy? These questions would serve as the driving force for the subsequent phase of cosmic development, ultimately leading to decisions whose repercussions would reverberate throughout all subsequent ages. The fundamental groundwork had been meticulously laid. The cosmic family had emerged and asserted dominion over their respective domains. The celestial hierarchy had taken shape, complete with its councils and assemblies. Now, the moment had arrived for decisive action, for the execution of the great works that would transform their meticulously ordered void into a realm truly befitting their governance. The era of creation was poised to commence, though none could yet fathom the intricate complexity of what lay ahead. As the cosmic cycles turned in their newly established patterns, the union of An and Kai continued to yield remarkable results, bringing forth powers whose diverse natures would profoundly shape every facet of reality as they coalesced around them. Each new emergence added an incremental layer of complexity to the celestial hierarchy, forging interrelationships that would define the very governance of all existence. From Kai's fertile depths emerged Ninhursag, the mountain mother whose inherent strength would imbue formless earth with defined shapes. Where her essence interacted with the primordial landscape, majestic hills ascended and valleys carved themselves into welcoming curves. Her dominion extended beyond mere geographical features. She transformed barren rock into life-sustaining soil, cultivating the very conditions necessary for the flourishing of abundance. Ancient inscribed tablets originating from Nippur speak of her initial action upon gaining consciousness. She surveyed the flat expanse of the nascent earth and deemed it insufficient for the complex life that cosmic wisdom suggested would eventually emerge. With unwavering patience and determination, she commenced the creation of landscape diversity, elevating certain regions while allowing others to remain low-lying, thereby establishing drainage patterns that would strategically channel Enki's life-giving waters to where they were most critically needed. From the brilliant fusion of An's celestial fire and Kai's nurturing embrace came Inanna, whose dualistic nature as the goddess of both love and warfare would render her perhaps the most enigmatic of all the powers. She materialized with an intensity that compelled even the other celestial beings to shield their eyes. Her beauty was simultaneously irresistible and terrifying in its absolute perfection. Unlike the gradual emergence of her siblings, Inanna appeared instantaneously, fully formed and burning with ambitions that would challenge the established order from her very first breath. Her very presence introduced passionate desire into a cosmos that had previously operated according to purely rational principles. Utu emerged shortly thereafter, claiming undisputed dominion over light, justice, and the measurement of time. His steady radiance instilled order by distinguishing day from night, establishing a fundamental rhythm that would govern all subsequent activities. More than mere illumination, Utu symbolized reliability, the assurance that certain constants could be depended upon even as everything else underwent transformation. His light exposed truths that had been concealed by darkness, naturally positioning him to become the cosmic arbiter whose judgments would resolve disputes among both celestial and terrestrial beings yet to come. Impartiality entered the universe through his unwavering gaze, which fell equally upon all entities, irrespective of their status or inherent power. Nanna followed, bestowing gentler moonlight and longer cycles that marked the passage of seasons and years. Where Utu's illumination was constant and revealing, Nanna's was cyclical and imbued with mystery, waxing and waning in patterns that spoke to the deeper rhythms underpinning existence. Through his transformations, the cosmos learned that apparent conclusions contained within themselves the seeds of renewal. The divine family continued its expansion as specialized powers arose to oversee particular aspects of an increasingly complex reality. Ninurta emerged as a valiant champion and warrior. His formidable strength was dedicated to safeguarding cosmic order against any forces that posed a threat. His domain encompassed not only the art of warfare, but also the essential courage required to confront necessary changes and the unwavering determination to bring difficult tasks to successful completion. From the subterranean depths emerged Ereshkigal, the formidable mistress of the underworld realm, destined to receive all beings once their time in the upper world had concluded. Her emergence solidified the understanding that even within a cosmos governed by immortal powers, boundaries existed that demanded profound respect. Her authority over death and the afterlife provided a crucial counterbalance, effectively preventing the upper realms from becoming excessively crowded with entities who had outlived their purpose or utility. As each new power assumed its designated position within the expanding celestial hierarchy, relationships characterized by both cooperation and contention began to develop. Enlil found himself increasingly drawn to his role as the active administrator of the cosmic will, tasked with translating lofty council decisions into tangible actions that shaped daily existence. His command over storms and weather phenomena rendered him indispensable for maintaining the atmospheric conditions that were vital for sustaining life. Enki evolved into the cosmos's premier problem solver, possessing wisdom that could uncover solutions when straightforward approaches proved inadequate. His control over subterranean water sources granted him access to hidden knowledge and secret connections linking seemingly disparate phenomena. While Enlil's methods were direct and forceful, Enki's were subtle and comprehensive. This dynamic between these two half-brothers would prove absolutely critical for future cosmic developments. Enlil embodied order imposed from above, characterized by clear hierarchies, established procedures, and unwavering obedience to legitimate authority. Enki, conversely, represented wisdom that readily adapted to evolving circumstances, embracing flexible responses, creative problem-solving, a profound respect for unintended consequences, and an understanding of inherent complexity. Their divergent approaches became strikingly apparent during their inaugural major collaborative project. The cosmos they had meticulously established possessed both beauty and order, but lacked the dynamic quality that would truly bring it to life. They had constructed a magnificent stage, yet it remained conspicuously devoid of worthy performers. Enlil proposed a direct and unambiguous solution to this deficiency. He asserted that the cosmos required inhabitants who could genuinely appreciate the achievements of the divine powers. These beings needed to be capable of providing the recognition and worship that cosmic sovereignty rightfully deserved. Such creatures, he argued, should be meticulously fashioned according to precise specifications, designed to fulfill their designated roles with utmost efficiency and without introducing any complications for their creators. Enki's response revealed a fundamental divergence in their respective perspectives. He posited that any beings possessing sufficient intelligence to comprehend celestial achievements would also inherently possess the capacity for independent thought, implying that they might subsequently develop their own ideas and desires. Creating such entities, Enki warned, would introduce unpredictable variables into the carefully structured system they had so painstakingly established. Initially, a profound disagreement arose among the powers, setting a crucial precedent for how future conflicts would be managed and adjudicated with the detached impartiality of supreme authority. While other powers contributed perspectives informed by their individual domains and specific concerns, Inanna strongly advocated for the creation of intelligent inhabitants. She argued that beings incapable of making genuine choices could not offer truly meaningful worship. Authentic recognition, she contended, necessitated the possibility of outright rejection. Genuine affection, she insisted, demanded the freedom to withhold it. Only creatures capable of saying no could imbue their yes with genuine significance. Utu emphasized the imperative need for beings who possessed the capacity to comprehend justice and law, thereby enabling them to serve as agents of cosmic order within the material realm. His light revealed truth, but truth, he underscored, required minds capable of perceiving it and hearts committed to acting upon it. Gradually, a consensus began to emerge around the fundamental principle that the cosmos would indeed benefit from the presence of intelligent inhabitants. However, it was universally agreed that such beings must be created with appropriate limitations to prevent them from challenging celestial authority. Nevertheless, even as they meticulously planned this monumental undertaking, another pressing issue demanded their immediate attention. The magnificent cosmos they had so painstakingly established required constant and diligent maintenance to function precisely according to its intended design. Someone was needed to excavate irrigation channels, meticulously tend to growing vegetation, and perform countless other daily tasks to ensure the smooth operation of the complex system. The Ashki had been specifically fashioned for this very purpose, but their enthusiasm for perpetual labor was beginning to manifest signs of strain. Although they continued to diligently perform their assigned duties, astute observers could detect a growing weariness in their movements and an increasing reluctance in their responses to new assignments. These working powers had been created to serve, but they had also been endowed with sufficient intelligence to recognize the stark disparity between their own unending toil and the comparatively comfortable existence of their superiors. While outwardly maintaining their obedience, private conversations began to occur during brief periods of respite. Quiet discussions commenced, questioning whether the current arrangement truly represented the most optimal organization of cosmic resources. These whispered exchanges remained carefully concealed from the great powers, who were increasingly preoccupied with navigating the complexities of governance and formulating plans for their next creative ventures. The stage was being meticulously set for the initial significant challenge to the cosmic order that they had worked so diligently to establish. The divine family had taken cohesive form, with each member claiming their respective domains and cultivating relationships that would define celestial politics for all subsequent ages. A clear hierarchy had been instituted, specific roles had been assigned, and the monumental task of cosmic governance was proceeding according to the established plan. However, beneath the seemingly placid surface of celestial harmony, tensions were steadily building, poised to irrevocably transform everything they had so meticulously constructed. Bronze implements struck against stone as the 300 Ashki meticulously carved channels through the primordial earth. Their backs were perpetually bent under the immense weight of cosmic ambition. For countless cycles, they had toiled without any respite, excavating intricate irrigation systems destined to transport Enki's life-giving waters across the vast landscape, constructing the foundational infrastructure that would support the grand vision taking shape within the divine assembly above. But a subtle change had begun to manifest in their movements. Where previously their work had been fueled by an enthusiasm born of purpose, their strikes now appeared mechanical, their conversations muted, exchanged in hushed tones during brief periods of rest. Questions began to coalesce, questions that would soon shake the very foundations of celestial order. "We labor to construct their paradise while dwelling in dust," one worker muttered, his hands bleeding from continuous contact with the rough stone. "When will our service cease and our rightful reward commence?" High above their arduous labor, the 50 Anunnaki convened in a magnificent assembly, their voices ascending in harmonious cadences that had never before resonated through creation. Each power had profoundly matured within their respective domains during the cycles that had elapsed since their emergence, cultivating specialized knowledge that would prove indispensable for the systematic governance they now envisioned. Enki stepped forward, his ceremonial robes glistening with moisture, emanating from the subterranean springs that had become his domain. Where his feet touched the earth, sweet water bubbled forth, a tangible demonstration of the hidden connections that his profound wisdom had unveiled during his extended periods of contemplation within the depths. "We have claimed territories and established our authority," he began, his voice carrying the gentle whisper of flowing streams. "However, raw power alone cannot sustain the intricate reality we aspire to build. Order necessitates principles that can function autonomously, independent of our immediate presence. Laws are required that will govern even when we are absent, and systems must be established that can maintain themselves." Enlil descended from the storm-laden skies, winds swirling about him as he addressed the assembled council. His domain spanned the expanse between the heavens and the earth, positioning him as the natural conduit between An's celestial authority and the practical necessities of the terrestrial realm. "My brother speaks the truth," Enlil declared. "We possess the power to reshape existence according to our collective will. Yet, strength devoid of a coherent system inevitably breeds chaos. Every force we unleash must serve a unified and purposeful objective. From this collective realization emerged their most audacious innovation, divine principles intended to govern all aspects of reality without demanding continuous intervention. Like the hidden subterranean springs of Enki, these celestial mandates were destined to permeate existence invisibly, automatically sustaining equilibrium and forming the bedrock of ultimate authority, thereby ensuring that power would perpetually descend from established stratums. Enlil introduced the protocols for active governance, translating divine pronouncements into tangible outcomes. Enki offered the statutes of sagacity and adaptability. Recognizing that rigid frameworks inevitably fracture under unanticipated stresses, Inanna forged ahead to claim the principles governing affection and conflict, the potent forces that would propel all subsequent advancement. Her contributions guaranteed that both attraction and discord would serve constructive ends, fostering growth rather than mere dissolution. Utu's consistent luminescence illuminated the concepts of equity and jurisprudence, establishing benchmarks that would empower civilized societies to operate impartially. Nanna provided the cadences of sacred observance and temporal measurement, harmonizing human endeavors with natural cycles through fitting rituals. As each divine entity contributed specialized acumen, their celestial framework matured into comprehensive administration, addressing every facet of existence that they could conceptualize. More than mere statutes, these principles possessed an inherent capacity for enforcement, embedding repercussions within the very fabric of reality that would automatically respond to infringements. With the cosmic legal system established, territories necessitated apportionment among the augmented hierarchy. Mountain ranges fell under Ninhursag's dominion, their summits ascending according to her vision of elevated topography, supporting Enlil's atmospheric apparatus. Rivers coursed according to Enki's blueprint, conveying fresh water to locales where it would eventually sustain life yet to be formed. Inanna claimed the cities that would arise from landscape centers of civilization, where her dual essence would propel human progress through both collaboration and rivalry. Specialized powers received jurisdiction over natural occurrences, winds and tempests, seasonal shifts, and the fecundity of nascent flora. Yet, even as they reveled in their administrative triumph, practical challenges demanded consideration. Their magnificent schematics required immense effort for execution. Theoretical constructs necessitated translation into functional realities through innumerable physical tasks. Beneath the celestial conclave, resentment was coalescing into something considerably more perilous than simple weariness. Discussions that had commenced as grievances concerning working conditions were evolving into fundamental inquiries regarding cosmic justice. "They speak of order and law," whispered one laborer to his confederates. "But what law imposes the entire burden upon the few for the betterment of the many? What justice dooms us to perpetual servitude while they feast in celestial comfort?" Another voice joined the escalating chorus of dissatisfaction. "We sculpted the channels that convey life across their dominion. We erected the foundations that uphold their grandeur. When shall we receive acknowledgement for accomplishments they claim as their own?" The questions disseminated through the workforce like subterranean currents connecting distant sources. Each rotation brought fresh resentments. Each respite ignited renewed debates regarding whether their present circumstances truly represented the optimal arrangement of universal assets. Leadership among the Aegi began to emerge organically. Workers whose eloquence gave voice to shared discontents, whose valor enabled them to articulate truths that others only murmured. They commenced organizing, coordinating, and devising strategies that would compel their concerns to receive due consideration from powers that had grown complacent, disregarding subordinate welfare. Above them, the Celestial Assembly continued to refine their administrative magnum opus, assured that their creation epitomized the zenith of cosmic accomplishment. They had instituted comprehensive governance, allocated fitting responsibilities, and forged legal frameworks that preserved order across vast expanses and extended epochs. What they had failed to anticipate was that intelligence sufficient for intricate undertakings might also prove capable of scrutinizing fundamental assumptions. The same cognitive capacity that enabled the IG to comprehend sophisticated engineering projects could equally evaluate the equity of arrangements governing their existence. Enki, whose sagacity encompassed hidden interconnections that others overlooked, began perceiving subtle alterations in the cosmic atmosphere. His subterranean conduits brought him intelligence from across the realm, whispers of mounting tension that his colleagues had not yet discerned. During private consultations with his most trusted counselors, he voiced apprehension concerning the sustainability of current labor arrangements. The workforce exhibits signs of strain that simple directives cannot alleviate. Intelligence capable of constructing our vision may also be capable of resisting perpetual exploitation. Yet, his admonishments garnered little heed from powers engrossed in celebrating their organizational achievements. Enlil dismissed worker complaints as transient adjustment difficulties that would resolve once appropriate discipline was enforced, remaining focused on celestial governance and deeming labor issues beneath the purview of supreme authority. Meanwhile, an AG organization persisted in its clandestine development, their assemblies concealed within the abysses of excavation